talking a little New Orleans Saints. As yesterday, as we do every single Tuesday, we had Nick Underhill on from New Orleans Love Football. And one of the areas, maybe the biggest area of need that he identified yesterday and was talking about, kind of even without us always prompting him to talk about it, was running back, right? Like, what are the Saints looking at for the combine? Running back. And he said that he's approaching it right now as if the Saints do not have a running back, right? And, of course, they have Alvin Kamara, but Alvin Kamara's legal troubles, we don't exactly know where those are going to lead. And so you need someone. Well, in a potentially fortuitous turn of fate, it looks like a running back that you're very familiar with, or many of you are very familiar with, will be coming available. As it is being reported that the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are planning on releasing our guy, Leonard Fournette. Of course, he signed a 3-year, $21 million deal just last March. I think in a post, I think Tom Brady loved Leonard Fournette. I think in a post-Tom Brady era, Jason Light and company are like, we don't want to commit that much money to Leonard Fournette. So you have a situation, Jake, where all of a sudden he'll be available. We can get into pricing. As you see, Jake, I've included just for you a chart of the NFL's running backs average per year pricing to try to figure out exactly where Fournette's contract may land. Right now it's 10th in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine it's $7 million a year. That's what that put him. I can't imagine it's going to stay up that high. We'll get into that. But the real point here is you have a marriage of nations. The Who Dat Nation and potentially Booga Nation coming together. So what's the best joke? Hooga Nation? Boodat Nation? Boogat Nation? Do we have an opinion here, boys, if you were to combine the two?
All those were bad.
Yeah, they were. They all felt bad. They felt bad writing them. They felt even worse coming out of my mouth just now.
Good job. Good effort.
Get an attaboy.
Booga Nation, okay? Always.
So I don't know that the Saints are going to go veteran at running back at that price tag because of where they're at in the cap and also because of what's in the NFL draft. This is a heavy running back class.
Yeah.
I mean, we know Bijan Robinson. We talked about Jahmyr Gibbs yesterday. You got Zach Charbonnet. You've got Chris Rodriguez. You got Sean Tucker from Syracuse. Devon Achane from Texas A&M. Zach Evans from Ole Miss. Tank Bigsby from Auburn. Tajay Spears from Tulane. Chase Brown from Illinois. Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. It is deep.
And is it too much to think that you could sign Leonard and then still draft one of these guys?
I guess it depends on what the value would be. I mean, you're not paying him $7 million a year, certainly.
No, and I mean, look, if you look at some of the other kind of backs on this list who are on rookie contracts still, they seem to be around like $2 or $3 million a year. So I figure you're right. Like the more you get over that, well, then why would you sign Leonard? Why wouldn't you just go with a rookie guy? But Jake, one reason why Leonard Fournette's an elite pass catcher out of the backfield. I don't know that he always gets that amount of credit, but I mean, just look at the number of catches he's had in working with Tom Brady. He had 69 catches 2 years ago. He has 73 last year in a Bucs offense that couldn't even really run the ball. And as you're looking for what you want the New Orleans Saints to do, and you want them to try to get back to some of that, right? When Alvin Kamara was catching like 80-plus balls a year. I'm not saying it has to be that extreme, but Kamara's definitely lost something the further the Saints have gotten away from that. Well, Leonard Fournette allows you to continue to kind of instill that philosophy and then have two guys capable of running. He's only 28 years old, right? So, you know, he's coming up. Is it 30 when
30.
it all changes for running backs?
29.
29? Okay, I mean, look, I'm not talking about signing like a 4 or 5 year deal, right? The Bucs signed him to 321. I don't know, 3 for 8. That might be a little.
I mean, the
low
top
ball.
backs though. I mean, McCaffrey 27, Zeke Elliott 28. I'm talking about as far as
age.
When I say top backs, age and money, not what I think their skill set is at this point. Dalvin Cook 28, Alvin Kamara 28, Derrick Henry 29, Nick Chubb 28. So I mean, he's about the age of the guys that are getting paid the most money.
How about Brandon Bolden making $5 million a year? Or no, sorry, he's making 2.7.
Yeah, 5's the total number.
Well, okay,
that's
so
because he was in New England with Josh McDaniels, so McDaniels brings him in to Las Vegas.
But like, look, you look at McKissick for the Commanders. He's 30. He's making 3.5. You mentioned Bolden making 2.5. Raheem Mostert's 31, making 2-1.
Well, Naheem Hines making $6 million last year, and
Yeah.
he was the returner, the kick and punt returner for the Bills.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a third down back in Indy, but
his chart really just reinforced how weird the running back market actually kind of is.
yeah, Gus Edwards made 4.1.
Also, as much as I love Alvin Kamara, just with how the last couple of years have gone, 15 is a high number.
Certainly for Zeke too.
Well, Zeke's done. I mean, Zeke's done, and the Cowboys. Is that official yet? Have they come out and said that they're moving on? Officially official? No, I don't believe so. I do know that in Cowgirl fanhood, a lot of them can kind of consider it to be a foregone conclusion, or we hold these truths to be self-evident that they need to move on from Zeke. But I mean, you look at the backs around Alvin Kamara now, McCaffrey. Well, Zeke's kind of busting out, like you said, but Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. Kamara's just not playing at that level anymore. Now, maybe he can get back there, right? I don't think the Saints always put him in the best position to succeed, but who knows? He's got to work through so much stuff. So potentially, you could be getting Leonard Fournette in a black and gold uniform. And, Jake, if the Dennis Allen era, it hasn't been great for much, but if it's been good for one thing, it's been getting some of LSU fans' favorite aging NFL stars to finally come back home and throw on the black and gold. And look, Tyrann Mathieu here to stay. Remember, he already reworked his contract. He's not going anywhere. I don't believe Jarvis Landry will be back. That was a one-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just didn't seem to work out as much for either party. But if you thought that Sean Payton hated LSU players, well, Dennis Allen does not. So maybe they look at bringing Leonard Fournette in. I know for me personally that would create a ton of buzz. But beyond that, and it would be exciting, and I would love it. But beyond that, I do think he has actual value. I do. Now he's coming off a season in which he averaged 3.5 yards a carry. But if you watch the Bucs last year, they just could not run the ball to save their lives. Yeah.
Tom Brady had the least amount of time to throw when we broke it down yesterday. Oh wow! Like literally told him on the show yesterday that stat.
Well, I remember like Josh.
Dang it, Bobby!
I remember like Josh Allen then being at like 2.9. I didn't remember the Brady part about him. What was he at like 2.6?
2.3.
2.3. Jesus.
I think Dalton was second, but yeah, it's 2.3. Brady was the lowest.
Now, Jake, help me out here, because if you were to do the signing, like, what is your realistic expectation level? What, like, so fans know where to kind of set their mind, so that if he comes in and it's, it doesn't. I don't want overinflated expectations for signing a veteran 28-year-old running back.
Yeah, I don't know, because you don't know how long Alvin Kamara is going to be out. You don't know what they do in the draft. You don't know what his role would be. Would it be as a pass catcher, kind of like you're saying? I mean, over 60 catches the last 2 years, each of the last 2 seasons, 60-plus catches. And so,
73 last year.
Where would that be? So I'm trying to look up.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, this is not like Leonard Fournette's going to come in and be like a 1,000-yard rusher. Like, he's only done that twice in his career in Jacksonville, and he's never done it. He never did it in Tampa. And that was a different role, right? He definitely had really good seasons in which he went over 1,000 total yards. But
someone in the chat suggested a third down back. I guess the one thing I'm looking at Pro Football Focus, the pass blocking grade was 27.5.
Oh, that's not very good.
3.1 grade against the Falcons. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know Lenny to be somebody that is a liability in pass protection. Certainly with as many catches as he had, maybe it's more of a free release situation.
Is he a better fit for what the Saints want to do between the tackles?
Yeah, because they're trying to force like a back that needs to be running stretch zone inside.
Yeah, so I figure maybe he kind of softens you up in the middle maybe a little bit, pound the rock with Lenny, maybe get Alvin Kamara on the edge a bit more. Although there's a very interesting article on New Orleans Football about how even the outside zone, like the stretch zone for the Saints these last couple of years, just has not been hitting. It's all just a bit too predictable, a bit too blasé overall. But we'll monitor the situation. Potentially, though, just like you had with Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry last season, as I said, potentially you could be getting Leonard Fournette in a Saints uniform. If nothing else, he will no longer be in a Bucs uniform.
And I guess it depends on what you draft.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they're going to draft a running back. However,
I would think so.
You draft that position, then you go, your veteran guy is the opposite of that position. So depending on who they like, as far as if it's a pass catcher, if it's a smaller back, a scat back, a Deuce Vaughn, then you can go get yourself a bigger back. If it is a bigger back, a Chris Rodriguez, a Sean Tucker from Syracuse, then you go get the scat back as your veteran free agent.
Yeah, and they still need they're going to need two, right? They're going to need two when Kamara's out. So we'll see if it ends up being Bugga. Shout out Lenny. Might never end. If Fournette had not gone to LSU, T-Bob would not think bringing in Fournette makes any sense. Well, okay, first, I would say this. From a just objective football standpoint, like Jake said, the pass blocking is not very good. So that's major cause for concern. So maybe that, but, I had not looked up PFF's pass blocking grade before that. And I'm not going to say that I sit here and watch Leonard Fournette film to see if I thought he was good at pass blocking or not. So I'm going to take PFF's word for it here. So that is a red flag. But in terms of, I think, what the Saints want to do at running back, and, in terms of, like, catching the ball, running between the tackles, et cetera, like, having, like, I do think that it does dovetail with Leonard Fournette's skill set. I think it's just a pricing issue, right? If he wants to play for, like, $2 million a year, I think that makes a lot of sense. You get to 3, and I think you got to, both sides got to see if they really like it. And then 4 or 5, I think it doesn't make sense. So that's the first thing. I think, secondly, just glossing over him playing at LSU, I see why you're doing that, because really it shouldn't matter. You're professional. You're paid to play. Go play wherever you're supposed to play, right? But I think something that we don't always appreciate is how much setting matters in your professional life, and being happy where you are, and having, like, and it could go either way when you're talking about a hometown, right? Sometimes you see guys maybe get a bit fat and happy, or like caught up maybe in with drama or stuff that they had like escaped before, and it doesn't work out. But sometimes you go home and all of a sudden you're comfortable, you're happy, you're in you're the place you love, the place you're originally from, and it leads to you having a bit of a renaissance. So, look, it would create a lot of excitement amongst the fan base, which is not why you make these decisions, but you also, you don't ignore that. Like that's a positive for you, Dennis Allen, as you struggle to get anybody over to your side. And I think there's juice left in the tank for Lenny. Again, the pass blocking thing, major, it's just a price. It's really just a price issue. But yeah, if you think, if Leonard Fournette hadn't gone to LSU, then yes, we probably wouldn't be talking about this either. But you're talking about one of the most legendary LSU players of all time, now suddenly available, matching a big-time need for the favorite hometown NFL team. Like, of course we have to connect these dots, dude. And these are the same dots that they're going to be connecting. We'll see. We'll see where Lenny ends up.
If you're looking at other free agent running backs right now, obviously you're going to price yourself out of some of these. Josh Jacobs is a free agent. Saquon Barkley is a free agent. Miles Sanders is a free agent. Tony Pollard is a free agent. So those 4 feel like they're going to be obviously not what you're looking for, because you've got $15 million tied into Alvin Kamara. Now, Jamal Williams is a free agent. Would love to have Jamal Williams as a Saint. He's probably he's probably still going to be a little bit out of reach because of the year that he had. You've got Deontay Foreman, who had a really nice year there in Carolina, had almost 1,000 yards. And so, Devin Singletary from Buffalo, David Montgomery from Chicago. Maybe those are some of the backs. Kareem Hunt from Cleveland. Maybe those are some of the guys the Saints can be on. James Robinson, who was really good in Jacksonville, got traded to the Jets after Breece Hall got hurt. And for whatever reason, just it never really worked with the scheme. Yeah. And he was somebody that felt like he was going to be a savior for the Jets, and then didn't dress the last 6 games. I don't know what happened there. But
setting. I mean, I don't know. Like any number of things should have happened. He didn't just forget how to play football Sunday, right?
Yes. So there's a lot of backs out there, veteran running backs. Rashad Penny from Seattle, although he's been injured most of his career. McKinnon from Kansas City, who we just saw in the Super Bowl. If you want a running back, there's plenty out there. There's going to be quality in the draft and in free agency.
My number for never will seek likely at least $4 million a year for 3 years, likely more. Will he get that though? I can't. I mean, you can seek whatever you want. It's like Derek Carr. Derek Carr is seeking 35 as a baseline. It doesn't seem like the market is developing to pay Derek Carr 35 as a baseline. Jeff G. T-Bob, would you consider Fournette somewhat of an NFL disappointment as he entered the league with high expectations? It's tough to say, because I think what defines an elite back for a season has kind of changed recently, Jake. I mean, you still have your kind of Derrick Henrys of the world who are putting up stat lines that we find to be very familiar and comforting, and we could point to and say, oh, look at that. That's incredible. And then you have like Christian McCaffrey, who, yes, he never reached the heights of McCaffrey or Kamara, right? McCaffrey literally had 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. But he has had, if you look at rushing and receiving combined, are you looking at his stats right now?
Mm-hmm.
How many thousand, like if you combine the two, I know he's only had 2,000-yard rushing seasons, but how many times have you broken 1,000 combining the two?
You'd add one more. 2021, he ran for 812 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and had 454 receiving.
What about the Super Bowl year when he came? Or no, I thought there was one year where he had like 900 and 800.
2020?
I'm not sure.
In 2020, he had 367 rushing yards, 233 receiving yards.
So it's tough to say. I would say this: without the Super Bowl run that he had, in which he played such a key role in getting the Bucs over the hump, then I think disappointment would probably be just without question. But like, I think that combined with some of the seasons he put together makes it a bit more of a mixed bag, especially the Super Bowl, though, right? That's all we care about is championships.
In 2020, he had, in that postseason run, he had 300 yards rushing, averaged 4.7 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 18 catches, 148 yards, and added another score there.
Yeah. So even if you think his career is a disappointment, he still resulted in a Lombardi for someone, and that is all that kind of matters in this sport. So
ran for 4,200 total yards in his career so far, right at 4 yards per carry, 34 touchdowns. Also has 2,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah, I mean, look, the more we're talking about, coming out of college and the numbers he put up there, and just what a legend he was. From the time he was in Little League on, you can maybe say disappointment. But to me, I see somebody who carried that pressure and that burden of expectation of being that legend and carried it all the way to the Lombardi.